In the year 2087, Earth was a planet struggling to survive. Decades of pollution, war, and climate disasters had left the world scared and broken. Cities were crumbling, oceans were rising, and food was scarce. Humanity was on the edge of collapse, but it wasn't just their own mistakes that threatened them anymore. One day, something extraordinary happened, something that would change everything. It started with a strange hum in the sky. People looked up to see massive ships descending silently over major cities like New York, London, and Tokyo. These ships were unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They shimmered with an otherworldly glow, and their size dwarfed even the tallest skyscrapers. For hours, the ships hovered there, unmoving, as if waiting for something. Then, without warning, every screen on Earth, phones, TVs, computers, lit up with the same message. "Your species is incapable of creating what we demand," the voice said. It was deep and cold, sending chills down the spines of everyone who heard it. "We require proof of your ability to build a structure capable of harnessing energy from the void. If you fail, your extinction will follow." The message repeated itself endlessly, leaving the entire planet in shock. Who were these beings? What did they want? And why give humanity such an impossible task? In New York, inside the United Nations headquarters, leaders from around the world gathered in a panic. At the center of the room stood Daniel Hayes, a calm but determined man in his late 50s. As the leader of the council, he had the unenviable job of keeping everyone focused. Around him, arguments erupted. Some wanted to surrender immediately, believing resistance was hopeless. Others demanded action, no matter how slim the chances. Among the chaos, one name kept coming up: Emma Carter. Emma was a physicist known for her work on sustainable energy solutions. She wasn't famous, but she was brilliant, and many believed she might be humanity's best hope. Reluctantly, Daniel called her into the meeting. When Emma arrived, she looked tired, her dark hair tied back in a messy bun. She didn't seem like someone who could save the world, but when she spoke, people listened. "I've been working on something," Emma began quietly. "A concept for an orbital platform designed to draw power from quantum fluctuations. I call it ****. It's risky, and we don't have much time, but it's possible." The room fell silent. Possible. That single word sparked a flicker of hope. Daniel leaned forward. "How long would it take?" he asked. 6 months, Emma replied. "But only if we have full cooperation and unlimited resources." Daniel hesitated. The Valens, as they came to be called, had given humanity exactly 6 months to complete the task. There was no room for error. After a long pause, he nodded. "You'll have whatever you need." As Emma left the room, she felt the weight of the world settling on her shoulders. Outside, people were already panicking. News outlets buzzed with speculation, and protests erupted in cities worldwide. Some believed the Valens were bluffing. Others thought building **** was a suicide mission. But Emma knew one thing for certain. Humanity had no choice but to try. Back at her lab, Emma began assembling a team. Among them was Jake Monroe, a gruff but talented engineer with a reputation for solving problems quickly. Though skeptical of Emma's theories, Jake respected her intelligence and agreed to help. Together, they started planning the most ambitious project in human history, a desperate attempt to prove that even in their darkest hour, humanity could still rise to the challenge. Little did they know, the real challenges were only beginning. The construction of **** began under difficult conditions. Resources were scarce, and tensions between countries made cooperation harder than anyone expected. The project required materials from all over the world, rare metals, advanced technology, and skilled workers. But instead of working together smoothly, nations argued over who should contribute what and how much control they would have over the finished structure. It was chaos. At the center of it all was Jake Monroe, a no-nonsense engineer with years of experience building large-scale projects. He had a reputation for getting things done, even when the odds were against him. But this time, the pressure was unlike anything he had ever faced. Every day brought new problems: equipment shortages, delays in shipments, and disagreements among team members. On top of that, there was Emma Carter, whose brilliant ideas often clashed with Jake's practical approach. "You can't just throw theories at this," Jake snapped one afternoon as they reviewed blueprints in a cramped office. "We need real solutions, not dreams. And you can't solve everything by brute force." Emma shot back, her voice calm but firm. "If we don't think ahead, we'll fail before we even start." Their arguments became routine, but despite their differences, they both knew they needed each other. Emma's vision kept them moving forward, while Jake's determination ensured progress wasn't slowed by setbacks. As work continued, strange things started happening. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation. Supplies went missing. Workers reported seeing unfamiliar faces around the construction site. Rumors spread quickly, fueled by fear and paranoia. Some believed rogue groups within Earth's population were trying to sabotage the project. Others whispered about alien interference, though no one dared say it out loud. One night, Lieutenant Sarah Bennett, a former Air Force pilot assigned to oversee security, caught wind of suspicious activity near the main assembly area. She decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight and a sidearm, she crept through the shadows until she spotted two figures tampering with a critical piece of machinery. Before she could confront them, they fled into the darkness, leaving behind only footprints and a damaged component. Sarah reported the incident immediately. Though she couldn't identify the intruders, her discovery sent shockwaves through the team. If someone inside the project was working against them, trust would be nearly impossible to maintain. Security measures were tightened, and everyone involved was placed under closer scrutiny. Even Emma and Jake found themselves questioned repeatedly, though neither had anything to hide. Despite these challenges, work on **Aetheris** pushed ahead. The orbital platform took shape slowly but steadily. Its design was unlike anything humanity had built before. A massive ring-like structure covered in intricate panels meant to capture energy from the void. Watching it grow gave people hope, even as doubts lingered in the background. Public opinion remained divided. While some saw **Aetheris** as humanity's last chance, others viewed it as a reckless gamble. Protests erupted in cities worldwide, with crowds demanding the project be abandoned. Why risk everything for something that might not even work? Read one banner held up by demonstrators. News outlets debated endlessly, amplifying fears and uncertainties. Through it all, Emma stayed focused. Late at night, after everyone else had gone home, she would sit alone in her lab, staring at diagrams and equations. She knew the stakes better than anyone. Failure wasn't an option, not just for herself or her team, but for every person on Earth. As the weeks passed, the sense of urgency grew stronger. The Valen ships still loomed silently in the skies, watching. No one knew what they were thinking, or whether they would intervene if humanity faltered. All Emma could do was keep pushing forward, one step at a time, hoping that their efforts would be enough. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest challenges were yet to come. With only 2 months left until the deadline, the first prototype of **Aetheris** was finally ready. It wasn't the full structure, just a smaller version designed to test whether the concept could actually work. Still, the stakes couldn't have been higher. If the prototype failed, it would mean humanity had no chance of completing the project in time. Everyone knew this was their moment of truth. The team gathered at a command center located near the launch site. Emma Carter stood in front of a large screen displaying live footage of the prototype as it sat on the launch pad. Her face was pale but determined. Beside her, Jake Monroe paced back and forth, muttering under his breath about potential risks. Lieutenant Sarah Bennett monitored security feeds, ensuring there were no signs of sabotage or interference. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. At exactly 3:00 p.m., the countdown began. "This is it," Daniel Hayes said over a video link from the United Nations headquarters. His voice carried both hope and fear. "Good luck to all of you." As the final seconds ticked away, Emma closed her eyes for a brief moment. She thought about everything they had sacrificed to get here. The long nights, the arguments, the endless pressure. Then she opened her eyes and focused on the screen. "Liftoff confirmed," announced one of the engineers. The prototype roared into the sky, leaving behind a trail of smoke and fire. Everyone held their breath as it climbed higher and higher. Minutes later, it reached its destination, a low orbit above Earth, and began deploying its energy-capturing panels. For several agonizing minutes, nothing happened. The team waited anxiously, watching data stream in from the satellite. Then suddenly, the screen lit up with activity. The panels had started drawing power from the void, just as Emma's calculations predicted. Cheers erupted in the command center. People hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. For the first time in months, there was real hope. But the celebration didn't last long. Almost immediately after the system activated, strange things began happening on Earth. The energy surge caused unexpected atmospheric disturbances. Violent storms swept across parts of the globe, destroying homes and displacing thousands of people. News outlets quickly connected the dots, blaming **** for the chaos. Public outrage followed. Protesters took to the streets, holding signs that read, "Stop playing God," and "Save us, don't kill us." Politicians who had once supported the project now distanced themselves, fearing backlash. Even some members of the team began questioning whether continuing was worth the cost. Emma felt crushed by the weight of responsibility. She had always known the technology carried risks, but seeing its effects on innocent lives made her doubt herself for the first time. Jake tried to reassure her. "We can fix this," he said firmly. "We'll adjust the system, make it safer. We don't have a choice." Daniel Hayes faced his own battle. Back at the UN, he fought to keep the project alive despite growing opposition. In an emergency meeting, he argued passionately for giving the team more time. "If we stop now, we're handing humanity a death sentence," he told the council. "Let them finish what they've started." Reluctantly, the council agreed, but not without imposing stricter regulations. From now on, every decision made by the team would require approval from international oversight committees. The added bureaucracy slowed progress even further, increasing the already overwhelming stress. Through it all, Emma refused to give up. Late at night, she sat alone in her lab, reviewing data and tweaking equations. She knew the prototype's success proved the concept worked. All they needed was more time to refine it. But time was the one thing they didn't have. As the days passed, the Valence ships remained silent, their intentions unclear. Were they satisfied with humanity's progress, or were they preparing to strike? No one could say for sure. What Emma did know was that failure wasn't an option, not when so much depended on their efforts. Despite the challenges ahead, she vowed to keep going. For better or worse, **** was humanity's best, and only, chance. As work on **** continued, the team faced more challenges than ever before. The backlash from the prototype test had shaken public trust, and tensions within the group were rising. Everyone was exhausted, working long hours with little rest. But what worried Emma Carter most wasn't the fatigue. It was the growing sense that someone inside the project couldn't be trusted. Lieutenant Sarah Bennett had been investigating the earlier sabotage attempts, piecing together fragments of evidence. One night, while reviewing security footage, she noticed something odd. A technician named Alex Rivera had been seen near sensitive equipment just before one of the malfunctions occurred. At first, Sarah thought it might be a coincidence, but as she dug deeper, patterns began to emerge. Alex always seemed to appear where problems happened. Sarah decided to confront him. She waited until after his shift ended and followed him to a quiet corner of the facility. "Alex," she said sharply, stepping into his path. "We need to talk." Alex froze, his face pale under the harsh fluorescent lights. "About what?" he stammered. "Don't play dumb," Sarah replied. "I've seen the footage. You've been tampering with the equipment. Who are you working for?" For a moment, Alex looked like he might deny it. Then his shoulders slumped in defeat. "It's not what you think," he muttered. "They forced me. They said they'd hurt my family if I didn't help." "Who's they?" Sarah demanded. Alex hesitated, then whispered the name of a shadowy organization known for exploiting advanced technology for profit. They had promised him protection and money in exchange for sabotaging the project. But now, caught red-handed, Alex realized how much danger he was in. Sarah brought Jake Monroe and Emma Carter into the discussion. Both were stunned by the revelation. "This isn't just about us anymore," Jake said grimly. "If these people get their hands on ****, they'll use it to control the world." Emma nodded, her mind racing. "We can't let that happen. But we also can't stop working. Every second counts." The team tightened security even further, installing additional cameras and requiring background checks for everyone involved. Still, the betrayal left them uneasy. If Alex could be turned against them, who else might crack under pressure? Meanwhile, the Valens remained an unsettling presence in the skies. Their massive ships hadn't moved since arriving, but smaller scout vessels began appearing closer to Earth. These sleek, fast-moving crafts darted around the atmosphere, scanning cities and military bases. It was clear they were watching. But why? Were they impressed by humanity's progress? Or were they preparing to strike? One evening, as Emma reviewed data in her lab, she heard a soft knock at the door. It was Sarah. "Can we talk?" the lieutenant asked. Emma gestured for her to sit. "What's on your mind?" "I've been thinking about the Valens," Sarah said. "Why give us this challenge in the first place? If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. So why wait?" Emma leaned back in her chair, considering the question. "Maybe it's a test," she said slowly. "Not just of our ability to build ****, but of our character. How we handle fear, betrayal, and conflict." Sarah frowned. "You think they're judging us?" "It's possible," Emma admitted. "But if that's true, failing isn't just about losing the project. It's about proving them right, that we're not ready." The conversation stayed with Emma long after Sarah left. She stared out the window at the stars, wondering what the Valens truly wanted. Were they saviors or destroyers? Allies or enemies? The uncertainty gnawed at her, adding to the weight of everything else. Despite the mounting pressure, Emma refused to give in to despair. She returned to her calculations, determined to find ways to make **** safer and more efficient. Jake joined her later, bringing coffee and updates on repairs. Together, they worked late into the night, driven by the belief that humanity still had a chance. But deep down, both knew the hardest part was yet to come. With time running out and threats closing in from all sides, the final stretch would test them in ways they couldn't imagine. As the deadline approached, cracks began to form within the team. The pressure was unbearable. Everyone was exhausted, running on little sleep and too much caffeine. Arguments broke out frequently, especially between Emma Carter and Jake Monroe. Their different approaches to solving problems had always clashed, but now the tension was worse than ever. "We can't keep doing this your way," Jake shouted one afternoon during a heated meeting. "Every time we follow your ideas, something breaks or goes wrong. We need practical solutions. And every time we do things your way, we lose sight of the bigger picture." Emma shot back, her voice rising. "If we don't think ahead, all our efforts will be wasted." The room fell silent. Other team members exchanged uneasy glances. They were used to disagreements between Emma and Jake. But this felt different, more personal, more desperate. It wasn't just about pride anymore. It was about survival. Lieutenant Sarah Bennett stepped in, trying to calm them down. "We don't have time for this," she said firmly. "Arguing won't get us closer to finishing ****. We need to focus." Her words seemed to sink in, at least for a moment. Both Emma and Jake took deep breaths and returned to their work, though the air remained heavy with frustration. Things got even worse when disaster struck. During a critical calibration phase, a key component of Aetherus failed catastrophically. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and part of the structure was severely damaged. Workers scrambled to contain the situation, but the damage was done. Repairs would require rare materials that were already in short supply. Jake threw his clipboard onto the ground in anger. "This is it," he muttered. "We're done. There's no way we can fix this in time." Emma refused to give up. She studied the wreckage carefully, her mind racing through possibilities. Finally, she spoke. "There's one option," she said quietly. "We could modify the design to bypass the damaged section. It's risky, and it might not hold up under full power, but it's the only chance we've got." Jake stared at her, shaking his head. "You're talking about gambling everything on an untested idea. If it fails, we're dead." "I know," Emma replied, her voice steadied despite the fear in her eyes. "But if we don't try, we're already dead anyway." After a long pause, Jake nodded reluctantly. "All right, let's do it." The next few days were a blur of frantic activity. The team worked around the clock, making adjustments and reinforcing weak points. Supplies ran dangerously low, forcing them to improvise with whatever they could find. Tempers flared constantly, but somehow they kept moving forward. Meanwhile, the Valen's ships grew more active. Smaller scout vessels darted closer to Earth, scanning the construction site and military bases. Their movements made everyone nervous. Were they observing humanity's progress or preparing to intervene? Public opinion continued to sour. Protests erupted worldwide, with crowds demanding the project be shut down. News outlets broadcast dire predictions, fueling fear and distrust. Even some government officials began questioning whether continuing was worth the risk. Daniel Hayes fought tirelessly to keep support alive. In a televised address, he urged people to stay hopeful. "We are so close," he said. "Humanity has faced impossible challenges before, and we've always found a way to overcome them. This is no different." His words inspired some, but many remained unconvinced. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on Daniel's shoulders, just as it did on Emma, Jake, and the rest of the team. Finally, the day came when Aetherus was ready for its final activation. The massive structure loomed in orbit, gleaming in the sunlight. It was a masterpiece of human ingenuity, a symbol of hope amid despair. But as the countdown began, doubt lingered in everyone's minds. Would it work, or had they gambled everything for nothing? Emma stood in the control center, her heart pounding. She glanced at Jake, who gave her a small nod. Whatever happened next, they had done everything they could. Humanity's fate was no longer in their hands. It belonged to the stars above. The day of the final activation arrived, and the world held its breath. Aetherus was fully assembled in orbit, a shimmering ring of metal and technology that represented humanity's last hope. Billions of people tuned in to watch live broadcasts, their eyes glued to screens as they waited for the outcome. Some prayed silently, while others gathered in streets and parks, watching giant monitors set up by news crews. The atmosphere was tense, filled with equal parts fear and anticipation. Inside the control center, Emma Carter stood alongside Jake Monroe and Lieutenant Sarah Bennett. The room was packed with engineers, scientists, and military personnel, all focused on the countdown ticking down on a large screen. Outside, the Valen ships loomed silently in the sky, their presence a constant reminder of what was at stake. 30 seconds, announced one of the technicians, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Emma clenched her fists, her knuckles white. She had spent months pouring every ounce of her energy into this project. If it failed now, she didn't know how she would face the world or herself. 20 seconds. Jake leaned closer to Emma. "Whatever happens," he said quietly, We did everything we could. Emma nodded but didn't respond. Her mind raced through every calculation, every adjustment, every late night spent working on ****. Had they missed something? Was there still a flaw? 10 seconds. Sarah stood near the security monitors, her hand resting on the grip of her sidearm. Though no immediate threat was visible, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to go wrong. The Valen's scout ships had been unusually active over the past few hours, darting closer to Earth than ever before. She kept glancing at the screens, half expecting an attack. 5, 4, 3. The entire room fell silent, the only sound the rhythmic beeping of the countdown timer. 2, 1. The screen flashed green as **** activated. For several long moments, nothing happened. The team stared at their monitors, hearts pounding. Then, slowly, the structure began to glow. A faint hum filled the air, growing louder and more intense. Streams of light pulsed along the panels, connecting each section of the massive ring. "It's working," someone shouted, breaking the silence. Cheers erupted in the control center as data streamed in, confirming that **** was successfully drawing power from the void. Tears flowed freely as people hugged each other, overwhelmed with relief and joy. But the celebration was short-lived. As the system reached full capacity, the Earth below trembled slightly. Atmospheric disturbances rippled outward, causing minor quakes and unusual weather patterns. News reports flooded in, showing frightened crowds fleeing buildings and cars swerving off roads. Then, without warning, the Valen's ships moved closer. Their scout vessels surrounded ****, scanning it with beams of light. The larger ships descended lower, casting shadows over cities. Panic spread across the globe as people wondered if the aliens were about to strike. Emma watched the screens, her heart sinking. "Are they angry?" she whispered. Before anyone could answer, a new message appeared on every device worldwide. It was the same deep, cold voice that had issued the challenge months earlier. "You have proven yourselves worthy," it said. There was a pause, then the voice continued. "We will not destroy you. Instead, we offer knowledge and assistance. Use it wisely." The ships began to ascend, their movements slow and deliberate. Within minutes, they disappeared into the sky, leaving behind only silence. The control center erupted into chaos. People shouted questions, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Had humanity truly passed the test? What did the Valens mean by knowledge and assistance? No answers came, but one thing was clear: Earth was safe. For now. Emma sank into a chair, exhausted but unable to look away from the glowing image of **** on the screen. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had risen to the challenge. But as she looked around the room at the faces of her teammates, she couldn't help wondering what price they might still have to pay for their victory. In the days following the Valen's departure, the world struggled to make sense of what had happened. The alien's message, "You have proven yourselves worthy," was both a relief and a mystery. What did it mean to be worthy? And why had they chosen such a deadly challenge in the first place? These questions lingered in the minds of everyone, from scientists and leaders to ordinary people trying to rebuild their lives. For Emma Carter, the aftermath was bittersweet. She walked through the empty halls of her lab, surrounded by scattered papers and half-empty coffee cups. The project that had consumed her life for months was over, but the cost weighed heavily on her. Lives had been lost during the storms caused by ****. Families had been torn apart, homes destroyed. Though humanity had survived, the scars would take years to heal. Jake Monroe felt much the same way. He spent hours tinkering with tools in his workshop, unable to sit still. The victory felt hollow when he thought about all they had sacrificed. Still, he couldn't deny the pride he felt in what they had accomplished. Humanity had faced an impossible task and succeeded, not because they were perfect, but because they refused to give up. Lieutenant Sarah Bennett focused on tying up loose ends. She worked closely with international agencies to ensure security measures remained strong, even as tensions eased. Her investigation into Alex Rivera's betrayal revealed deeper connections between rogue groups and corrupt organizations, eager to exploit advanced technology. Though Alex had cooperated fully after being caught, Sarah knew the threat wasn't entirely gone. Some secrets were too dangerous to leave unguarded. As for Daniel Hayes, he stood before the United Nations once again, this time not as a leader fighting for survival, but as a representative of hope. "We have shown the universe that humanity is capable of greatness," he declared. "But we must also remember the lessons we've learned. Unity, resilience, and trust are our greatest strengths. Let us use them to build a better future." The Valen's promised knowledge arrived weeks later in the form of data streams transmitted directly to Earth's satellites. Scientists around the globe worked tirelessly to decipher the information, which included advanced formulas, engineering designs, and insights into energy systems far beyond human understanding. It was clear the aliens wanted to help, but their motives remained unclear. Why share their knowledge now? Was it truly altruistic, or was there another agenda? Emma found herself drawn back into the work almost immediately. Studying the alien data felt like stepping into a new frontier, one filled with endless possibilities. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The Valen's sudden arrival, their cryptic challenge, and their abrupt departure. It all seemed too calculated. What were they hiding? One evening, as she gazed out her office window at the stars, Emma realized the truth. Humanity might have passed the test, but the real challenges were only beginning. The Valens hadn't just judged humanity's ability to create. They had tested their capacity for growth, cooperation, and self-reflection. And while the immediate threat was gone, the consequences of their actions would ripple through history for generations. Jake joined her later, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thinking about them?" he asked, nodding toward the sky. "Yeah," Emma replied softly. "I can't stop wondering why they came. What did they really want?" Jake shrugged. "Maybe we'll never know. Or maybe they're waiting to see what we do next." Emma smiled faintly. "That's probably the scariest part. We're on our own again." They stood together in silence, watching the stars twinkle against the dark canvas of night. Somewhere out there, the Valens were watching too, or perhaps preparing for whatever came next. For now, though, Earth was safe. Humanity had proven itself, not just to the aliens, but to each other. And yet, as Emma turned back to her desk, she knew one thing for certain. The universe was vast, full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but humanity had already taken the first step. They had faced the unknown and survived. Whatever came next, they would face it together.